Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, most merciful, most compassionate. Praise be to Allah, the Lord, cherisher and sustainer of the worlds, the most gracious, the most merciful, the master of the day of judgment. All praise is due to Allah, and Allah's peace and blessings be upon His final messenger, His pure family, His noble companions, and all those who follow them with righteousness and good deeds until the day of reckoning. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you and the mercy of Allah and His grace. Hello and welcome to Understanding Islam. In the previous episode, we discussed some glimpses about the scientific points that were mentioned in the Holy Qur'an. And we were joined by Dr. Khalid Al-Ubaidi, and he is joined with us today as well, inshallah, to continue our discussion. Dr. Khalid Al-Ubaidi is a PhD in structural engineering, and he's also an experienced researcher and lecturer in many universities. Welcome to the show, Dr. Khalid. Khalid, we discussed some aspects about the balance between all creatures and creation, and the concept of interaction and interactivity between them, and the violence start of creation, etc. There is an interesting verse in the Holy Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking about the earth, that we are taking part of it from every edge of it. What does that speak about?
Yeah, actually, this is a very beautiful scientific glimpse, actually. If you go back to the recent and up-to-date research, you will find what they call erosion. It happened because of two reasons. One of them is the tectonic motion that we have mentioned in the previous episode, and also by the forces that happen to the mountains to shape this landform, just like the winds, the water, the ice, snow, all these forces, shearing forces that will shape the mountains, shapes, structure and colors. So these, what we call erosion, in addition to asystocy principle and also to the plate tectonic, we have what we call that we have edges shaped to these mountains. So the verse's edge, when we call taking parts of from the earth to shape it as from its edge, the word edge is include every type of edges.
From every point, every dimension, every direction.
From the two-dimensional and the third-dimensional, which is the height. So it includes everything, including the heights of the mountains. So it's a very beautiful position from the Qur'an and miraculous verse that telling that this is a fact, that there is in the earth, there is something you call decreasing or taking parts from it, either from the lands, by the sea, or from the heights, high mountains, by the other forces. So this is very beautiful scientific.
How is this linked with other cycles in life?
Yes, it's very important, actually. If you remember, previously we have mentioned that we have what we call the plate tectonic motion. Nowadays, they found a new phenomenon happened in the geology, raises of the continent's crust, because of what we call the isostasy principle and what we call the
isostasy means balance.
Balancing. If you took any mass, any weight,
you have to put something.
If you don't put it, there will be a problem. There will be unbalancing cases. So because of isostasy and the plate tectonic and other effects on the floating of the crust on the mantle lithosphere, this floating and these upper and lower movements because of this isostasy and the effect of the heat and pressure, just like we have mentioned and the films we have seen, those things affecting the shape of mountains, it will be float and it will be stick to the lower layers, which we call roots, just we have mentioned.
Yeah. How is that linked with other cycles in life?
Yeah, this is very important. If we go back to the what we call the roots of the mountains, this floating and these roots are making the mountains very stable. It will stand all the effect of the earthquakes from geological movement and the movement of the air and other movements. and it will affect the environmental and the climate cycles and processes happen to the earth, which will affect the water cycle, mineral cycles, rock cycles. All these cycles are affected by the mountains. So if we go back to the scientific definition of the cyclic processes for the minerals, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, biological cycle, hydrological cycle, just like we have photos here, we can see it on the screen. We will see that the mountains are the dominant and very crucial factor of this thing. So if we go to the what you have asked about the this effect, we can see this the very beautiful section on the in the earth. You can see those roots very obvious here in this section, and it's just like what the Qur'an have mentioned, just like autada, which means stick on the ground,
like pigs,
just like
table,
just
stack
like pigs
inside the ground.
Pigs that will hold the tent from the force of the air. If you go back to the, for example, for the volcanic, you know, the volcanoes are the outlet from the mountains, the volcanic mountains, outlet from
pressure.
the beneath, pressure and heat from beneath to the environment, and those dust and these gases, actually it's very dangerous, but it's very important to
for rebuilding and
rebuild for the earth, for fertility, and for the for
mineral
plants, for all these things, for the cycle of the life, and the ecology also is very important, and also it's destructive for the life instantaneously, but it's in the long term. When you look to the long term, it will be very efficient for the recycling the earth. So these rules for the mountains, it's mentioned in wide range of verses in the Quran, and we can see it one by one. But if we don't have time actually to get it through all together, but we can see it one by one, just like we have mentioned about the roots and about the regarding this destruction. For example, there is a linkage between volcanic and earthquake processes happen because of this tectonic motion.
And Surah Al-Zalzala.
We have in Al-Zalzala a direct correlation, Quranic correlation between the earthquake and the volcanoes.
Latent pressure off from
That's right.
Earth.
So this is 14 centuries ago. When anyone tell you that when the earth is moving, the mountain is moving, and there is a volcanic processes happening because of this movement, they wouldn't believe.
They don't seem to be a direct
relation. Illogical at that period, those days. But nowadays, after all these discoveries, the very recent discoveries that telling us that direct relation between huge earthquakes and volcanoes, this direct relation give you that the Quranic saying this 14 centuries ago. So it is a precision. It is a miraculous speech. SubhanAllah.
Very interesting. Thank you very much, inshallah. Very interesting point, and we will continue it after this short break. Dear viewers, it's time now for a short break. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us via our email, understandingislam@dmi.ae. You can also post your feedback on our Facebook page. Stay with us. Welcome back. Dear viewers, we are having a special episode about some glimpses about the scientific facts mentioned in the Holy Quran. We are joined by Dr. Khalid Al-Ubaidi, who is an experienced researcher. Dr. Khalid, we are discussing different concepts about the mountains. Yeah. There is an interesting verse in the Holy Quran where Allah Almighty says to the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ that when they ask you about the mountains, what will happen to them, then tell them that God Almighty will blast it away and then make it somewhat like a plane. Yeah. Without what is that speaking about?
Yeah, if you remember a while ago, we have spoken about the direct relation between the earthquake and volcanoes. And this fact actually is a Quranic fact before it's a scientific discovery. Actually, another verse regarding the end of the mountains. There's a very beautiful description for the Quran that is said it will be blasted away and also it will be a plain. Actually, this specific description cannot be explained or cannot be put by anyone 14th century ago, because the new discoveries saying that a massive volcanic, what we call super volcanic, just like Toba in Indonesia, just like Yellowstone in America, just like Santorini in Greece, those actually happen in extinction cycles during the life of the Earth. 5 cycles of extinctions we have suffered in the 4.5 billion years ago. 2 of them because of super volcanic eruptions that happen. It's made the Earth. It's killed all type of life. It's blast and make everything destructive. Make destruction in all the area, and also it's like a plane. So this description, exactly the description of the super volcanoes. So it cannot be put or it cannot be composed by any person 14 centuries ago. It must be from the Creator. It must be. No way, because we discovered it now. No other reason.
There is another interesting link in the Holy Quran between the mountains and water and rivers and plains, and this is repeated in many places in the Holy Quran. What is the concept of this?
This is what I have told you in the previous episode, that the mountain and ocean are the most dynamic structure on Earth. Nowadays we discovered that the mountains are affecting every type of cycle in the Earth. Because the mountains, the higher mountains, just like Everest, it's on the troposphere layer of the atmosphere. It's taking the effect of the outer space from all those particles and radiation from the sun coming to the Earth. The first line of protection in the magnetic field, and also the second
before we speak about its relationship with space, could we first speak about its relationship within
this
Earth?
effect, actually this effect, affecting the water cycle, affecting the biological cycle, the ecology, affecting the mineral cycles, all the types of cycles, just like oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, whatever. All these cycles, the mountains are the dominant and the crucial role and factor in all these.
So no mountains,
if
no
there is
rain,
no mountains, there is no life. There is no circles. There is no nothing happened in the Earth. Also, we can go through whatever we know. The undersea mountains also playing a very dominant role with the life of the undersea, because all these.
First about the outer mountains. You are saying that the mountain themselves,
affecting
the
climate,
the cooling of the Earth in the beginning after its violent start. Did they also play a role in that?
Yes.
In the very beginning of life.
After the cooling, we have the hydrological cycle started, and the rains, very heavy rains, happened that made our seas and oceans. Other scientists saying that maybe it's coming from the outer space because of the comets.
So there are different sources for water.
But the mountains, for sure, this is a real fact, plays dominant role in the beginning when the first hydrological cycle started, and the cycles of raining started.
And they continue to play
in this. It's affecting it's ruling and governing. It's dominant.
What about the undersea?
It's dominant in the hydrological and biological cycles. Also in the undersea mountains, they are playing dominant role because of the cycles of what we call the conveyor belts in the sea, under the sea. It's cycling the food of the creatures of the undersea, the coral reefs, and because of this coral reefs, it's the steeper mountains, undersea mountains, and these steeper mountains are it's just like home for the creatures, for the undersea creatures, and without them there will be no food cycling for those creatures. And
consequently for people,
sea is one of the important resources of our food. So if there's no food in the sea, there is no food for us, and no life will continue. So
it is very important in ecology.
In ecology, in the undersea ecology, and the land ecology, and the other types of ecologies, the mountains are the very important and dominant.
Doctor, in one verse in the Holy Quran, Allah Almighty is pointing our attention to the colors of the mountains. How significant is that?
Before the colors, you had to just remind me now. We have many verses of relation, that relation between mountains and rivers, mountains and springs, mountains and
Water
the underwater.
sources, underwater or
We have verses for the underwater, raining from the sky, go to the earth, going under the earth, and these will be springs. So the cyclic, the hydrological cycle, actually it's explained in the Holy Quran in many verses. And the mountains are very important.
The role of the mountain.
The role of the mountain is very important and very clear on those verses. Yeah. And also it's very clear in the.
What about the colors?
The colors, very beautiful one. Because we have verse in the Quran telling us that we have just like the fruit differentiation of variation of fruit colors, we have differentiation and variation in the mountains colors. As we have mentioned for the erosion and minerals are playing the very important role for the shaping the shape of the mountain and the color of the mountain.
The composition of
mineral composition, chemical composition for the minerals of the mountains. And we have in all these rocks, we have very beautiful mountains throughout the world. You can go through, for example, to China. We have very beautiful red, green, blue, purple, very beautiful colors.
So we're talking about
rainbow,
the
just like rainbow.
Aesthetic value of mountains as well, having a look at it and enjoying it.
And these are mentioned in the Quran, and no one can tell you why, from whom it comes. It must be from the Creator. It must be. No way.
Very interesting.
No way. Nobody can speak in such facts. We discovered it now. Relation between water, hydrology, cyclic, biological cycle, mountains, colors, mineralogy, all these together, all these sciences together, you cannot gather it in some words in a verse.
Very interesting. Inshallah, we'll continue it after this short break. Dear viewers, it's time now for another short break. After this break, inshallah, we'll continue our discussion with Dr. Khalid Al-Ubaidi. Stay with us. Welcome back. Dear viewers, we are having Dr. Khalid Al-Ubaidi with us to discuss some glimpses about the scientific facts mentioned in the Holy Quran. Dr. Khalid, we spoke about the relationship between the mountains and fresh water on Earth.
Fresh water.
And someone could argue that probably the mountains are not that crucial for fresh water because you have many different sources.
No way.
How is that?
Because the recent research have mentioned 7 resources for the water. For
fresh water
for the humanity, and they are telling that the glaciers in the poles, they are mountains. They are icy mountains, and also for the underwater. So the underwater process, it's happening because of the hydrological process cycle, and the mountains are playing dominant role in the climate. It stops the clouds, very cold weather there. Because of this temperatures, low temperatures, and because just like a wall, it stops the wind, and because of the low temperatures, the rain falling, and these rain are making the springs and getting under the surface, and this cycling.
So the mountain is connected with how many of these 7?
6.
Six of
these 7 resources are crucial. The mountains are crucial on these 6.
For the vast majority of fresh water.
That's correct.
On Earth.
This is a real scientific fact.
One verse in the Holy Quran speaks about the movement of some stones.
Yeah.
And that seems some stones move out of fear of Allah Almighty.
Yes,
this is speaking about what exactly?
If we speak about science and scientific research and discoveries nowadays, we have what we call the collapse of the rocks and faulting of the and cracking of these rocks on the mountains due to
different elements and different
earthquakes,
reasons
due to erosion, whatever, and avalanches in the pools and the icy mountains. All these collapses happened, and also you can find that after this collapse, some spring will take place. So this description, actually, we have in Al-Baqarah, Surah Al-Baqarah, we have three types of falling rocks. Falling rocks due to collapse, falling rocks making the springs, and falling rocks of feeding of Allah. All these three, we have it nowadays. We have what we call avalanches, we have what we call collapse, and we have what we call spring after collapse, making a spring after the collapse of the rock. And we have very strange phenomena that is what we call the Death Valley in USA. This valley,
The sliding rocks.
the sliding rocks, they don't have any explanation. Sometimes they are saying because of the earthquake, sometimes they are saying because of the wind, sometimes there is no explanation for this. They don't have any explanation.
How big are these stones?
Very big. And they are sliding
For how far?
far. Sometimes they have 300 meters, sometimes 500 meters. And
Probably the line.
Because
line
of the inclination, sometimes they calculate the weight, mass, and the speed, and they found that they are moving for distance more than expected. So
probably
also,
this verse is
yeah,
referring to that.
Some of them are moving because of inclination. Some of them there is no inclination. They are moving on the plane surface. So they don't have real explanation for this. They can give us to be logic. So they put it in question mark.
Doctor, there is an interesting verse in the Holy Quran where Allah Almighty is saying that to Allah Almighty prostrate in obedience everything in creation. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the sun, the moon, and then the mountain is mentioned after that. Is this pointing to a specific...
As I told you, nowadays science speaking about the comprehensive and looking of things over from all sides. Now they are saying the moon, we know the moon that affecting the tides of the sea. This is very, very normal. It's very usual. But they are discovering that there is a relation between moon and earthquakes. Direct relation. They are finding that the sun, the particles and the radiation of the sun are, and what we call the heliophysics and the space weather and all these sciences are speaking about the affecting of the particles coming from the sun to the layers of the atmosphere, troposphere and tropopause and other layers are affected by these particles and this radiation that will affect the weather, and the mountains are playing a very important role in it. Besides,
is this because of their height or
the height and the effect of the climate? They are taking all these particles from the outer space. They are cycling and circulating all these particles throughout the globe, and this affecting the climate, the environment, the ecology, affecting our hydrological cycles, mineral cycles, affecting everything. Besides, they discovered there are the direct relation between sun and the earthquake and volcanoes. So you can imagine, moons are affecting the earthquake, sun affecting the volcanoes.
how the sun affects that?
The sun, we have what we call the CME. Let us see this film, very important. Okay. Very good. Thank you for this question. This film is actually explaining everything. The sun
has these eruptions.
What we call the sun-mountain interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the sun, a huge explosion happened in the heliophysics and space weathering sciences. A huge explosion happened by the plasma stormy, what we call CME, which is the coronal mass ejection from the sun toward the planets. If the planet is not protected by specific layers, the lighter elements like oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen will be will be dissolved, and this will make no life on this planet.
The Holy Quran mentions a protective layer over the
protective
earth.
layer.
Yeah, talking about
this will be explained in another episode, inshallah. But this what happened in our neighbor, which is the Venus. It's called because of this CME. Killed every type of life, every type of light elements, yes, oxygen, hydrogen. But in Earth, we have protective layers, and what we see in the Earth, those layers are preventing those CME particles, plasma particles, very dangerous particles, to kill the life in the earth. This is protection line number one. Protection line number two is the atmospheric lines, which is the ice, the poles, and the mountains, and the what we call the climatic engine. This climatic engine distributes all these particles throughout the globe, and will prevent it from doing any harmless to the creatures and to the life. But on the contrary, it will be very and beneficial to these sciences. We can see here very interesting from NASA. This is from NASA film. You can see after those particles coming to the Earth, it will be circulated in the land and under the ocean. And the mountains are on land as landform, and under the sea, it will play a very dominant and crucial role on this circulation. So it affected by these, sun, and also the volcanic effect affected by those eruptions from the stormy particles from the sun. So all these together, we can see there is direct relation between moon, sun, and mountains. This is what mentioned in the Holy Qur'an 14 centuries ago. No way to tell me why and from whom it comes. Nobody can speak about this. It must be from Allah.
From the Creator. Now, interestingly, and we could conclude with this, Doctor, is that in the Holy Quran, Allah Almighty tells us to be humble. Yeah. And the example is given in one of them is you will never be as high as the mountains. Yeah. And clearly now we see the importance of mountain and the crucial role that they play in forming the earth and sustaining its life.
Very beautiful handing over of this episode, actually. This verse it can tell you whatever you will reach, wherever you will go through, any scientific, any technological development and achievement, you cannot be as high as, never you will be as high as or as tall as mountains. So just be cool and
be
don't
humble. Be humble in front of your Lord and your
always remember you are a human. And don't be as very proud and very arrogant, and you can feel yourself that nobody can get you
away.
We
have to respect every other creature on earth. We
all
share
creatures.
this.
We are sharing all
together.
this planet,
Yes,
and we must be feel the humanity in the right way.
Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair. Very interesting, Doctor. I'd like to thank you for sharing with us your insights about these topics. Jazakallah khair. Dear viewers, I'd like to thank on your behalf Dr. Khalid Al-Ubaidi, who is a PhD in structural engineering, and he is also an experienced researcher and lecturer in many universities. We pray to Allah Almighty, the most merciful, to increase our knowledge and guide us and guide others through us, and make us merciful and compassionate, moderate and balanced in our hearts and our actions and in all aspects of our life, and to grant us good things in this world and good things in the hereafter. Ameen. We pray to Allah Almighty to guide us to His divine truth, make us good for ourselves, for our children and families, for our neighbors and greater society, and then to all of humanity. Ameen. Praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds, and peace and blessings be upon our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his pure family and all his companions. See you next week, inshallah. God willing. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you and the mercy of Allah and His grace.